anyone have any questions that they would like to ask any of our panelists?
What challenges do you still face as business owners when it comes to managing your cash flow, your liquidity or your working capital, to make sure that you can still function as a business the next month? And if there's any tech solutions that you found useful, it'd be helpful to share that.
5 years on, I still feel like some days are like you said, we're going out because I'm balling. And then it's very much like a feast and famine sometimes. So, this freelance life is not easy. It depends when a client pays you sometimes. And so they can all pay you at the same time, or it can, you're going to have to make that money really, really stretch. So what I do is I do a 12-week cash flow forecast. So I know when all my direct debits are coming out. I know all the things that I have to pay. So I'll have a separate one for my personal bills and there's the ones for the business. So I kind of know the periods when I need to get on the phone and say, can you pay me? So I think you just being on top of your finances and knowing where your cash is going, I think is really important. I've thought about getting investors because I have big dreams for the business. But I'm just not there yet because I don't feel like I'm ready to have to answer to anybody, to explain why I'm doing certain things. But I've worked with some brilliant brands who have got investment and they've been able to just skyrocket, someone who believes in your dream. If you're going on it, going through it by yourself, it's really important to just keep track of where all your money is going so you know. And even so you know what to stop doing, because if there's a particular thing that you're doing that isn't making you any money and it's kind of draining, if you can see it in black and white sometimes, you just kind of go, well, okay, well, maybe I need to stop that. It was I wanted to do it, but it just doesn't make money. And we have all bills to pay, unfortunately. So I just feel like if you can see it in front of you exactly where you're making most money, you kind of concentrate on pushing that forward. I think that's really, really important.
I'm going to piggyback. I'll hand over to you in a second, Charlotte. I will definitely piggyback off Zelica's answer. So as I said, I have spreadsheets which tell me what I should expect every single month and what my expenses should be every single month. But then I also use Xero cloud accounting. So I upload all of my receipts onto there. I send invoices from there. And you can see when your invoices are overdue. And it also categorizes them by name sometimes. So if there's one client in particular who you can see that invoices are just stacking up from, then reaching out to them and just reminding them. Because essentially cash flow is the blood flowing through your business. So while you may be expecting or you may be getting paid a lot of money, unless they actually put it in your bank, it doesn't exist. So I think just staying on top and making the most of technology, like the cloud and accounting systems. You can use Xero, you can use FreshBooks.
It's QuickBooks, Cashflow, Sage. They all pretty much do the same thing. I love Xero.
Yeah, I think it just does a good job of highlighting who owes you money, how long overdue it is, and then I think also just managing the expectations of other people. So if you pay people or they've sent you an invoice, maybe giving them a payment period so that they know that they should expect payment within the next 30 days as opposed to the day after they send you the invoice, just so that you can protect the cash flow in your own business.
So mine is a piggyback on that. I think as a freelancer, rather than like a business owner, something to be really mindful of is your invoicing. So I always put like a date. I do 2 weeks, so I expect my payment to be paid in 2 weeks, but not everyone works in the same way. So you do have to be flexible sometimes. But something I would always say is when you work with a client, try and work with them on your terms. So if you can send them an agreement rather than signing theirs, that tends to work better in your favor, because I have a few clients who work on 30-day payment terms, which is a really long time, whereas I have one that just pays literally the day that I do the work, and another that does my 2 weeks, and it just depends. But 30 days is a really long time to pay for your money and wait for your money. And sometimes people just don't pay you and they forget. But you can add things into your invoices to make sure that legally they are required to pay you.
And your contracts.
And your contracts. So just make sure that you just have a good, if you can get a template from a friend, that's how I got mine, but just like a really good binding contract to be like, I'm doing the job, this is when you're going to pay me, and you're going to have to give me the money, otherwise we're going to have a legal issue. And it does work.
Or even like, if you don't pay within this period, then I'm going to charge you this amount
Yeah,
of interest.
I have a 5% interest. So if they don't pay me within the 2 weeks, then it goes up by 5%. I actually haven't, because when you let them know, they're like, shit, yeah.
As soon as you mention it.
As soon as you mention, have you read the bottom of the invoice or of the contract, depending, you know, what you've sent them, where it says that that they need to pay you, they're like, payment's been sent, accounts have sorted it out. Like all of a sudden they found the money, or they found the PO or whatever they were looking for, and it's like,
Well, I called the bailiffs in. No, I did. You know, I worked really hard for my money. So, you know, there's bailiffs that will work, you know, you don't have to pay anything. They will put their charges on top of your invoice, but obviously you don't want to ruin relationships. You know, you've got to kind of, if it's someone you're like, actually they're not my ideal client and I don't mind losing this relationship.
yeah. How much money is, I guess?
Well, yeah, I mean, it wasn't like 100 quid. This was like thousands of pounds. Yeah, and it's kind of rolled over a few months as well. So, you know, don't be afraid of kind of going, well, you haven't paid my invoice, so I can't do any more work with you. At the beginning, I was too frightened to do that, and I keep on working, and that's how it kind of built up. So, yeah, look, you work hard for your money. Do it. Yeah.
And also, if you don't, because I usually work with a lot of people, like even at Peckham Levels, who don't know how to send invoices. So there's loads of different programs or apps that you can use, like Invoice2Go, that shows you a straight layout. You just need to input your address, all your details, card details.
Don't forget your bank account
Yeah,
details.
bank
I've
account
received
details.
invoices without any bank account
Great.
details, and I'm like, how am I supposed to pay you if I don't know where I'm sending the money to?
It's crazy. So even when I do get people that I work with as first-time suppliers, I usually just say, here's a quick nudge, use this app. If you want to send an invoice that looks like you know what you're doing, here you go. But it says, yeah, Invoice2Go is really, really good. Xero also can send invoices on behalf of yourself. PayPal can even do that. So just be clued up on apps that you can use in order to send professional invoices. And also HMRC have a requirement that if you do not receive your payment after 60 days, you have to tell HMRC, and then they will incur a fine on that company. So that's something that's legally binding and everyone should know, especially if you're in a business, straight up.
Do you have any experiences with that?
Yeah, I'm kind of like the opposite of you guys. So you know how you lot are running after your money? I'm that person who's so into my artistry. I'm like, I'll do that invoice tomorrow. I've got another booking. And then it gets to the end of the month and my assistant's like, right, you've got 13, 14 invoices, thousands of pounds to collect for this month, and they're not done. So I feel like being on top of your invoices is so pivotal, it's so important. And especially with my business, it's split into two. So Bernicia Boateng Ltd is one business, and then Bernicia Boateng Studios is a complete other business. So it's just a lot more to take on. And I think I'm just so grateful that I've got a good team who keep me on top of it, because you just lose out. Sometimes you sit there and you'll be going through your Instagram oh, another job, and you just realise I didn't get no money from none of those. And I still ain't eaten that and haven't chopped that money yet. So you have to be on top of it. I think invoicing is something that you have to train yourself to become a business person and not just a fancy creative. So yeah, it's the business side that is the hardest, because I feel like, for me, being from a working class family, we're not really taught how to do these things. It's not really in our, my dad ain't trying to invoice no one, do you know what I mean? So I've never learned it, and it's something that you've got to take out time to really learn how to run your business. How is this business going to become profitable to me? And I think that's something that last year I sat down and I was like, right, I'm doing too much free work. How am I going to really make sure that every month I'm getting over and beyond what I'm putting in? Because it is really effectively about working smarter and not harder. Don't kill yourself because somebody's doing half that work and chopping big peas. Sorry to be ghetto, but like
We're in Peckham, it's fine.
we're in Peckham, guys. But yeah, like someone's doing half your work and just like enjoying life. So just make sure that you're getting everything and more out of every job that you do.
I have two questions. The first question is, I'd like to know from each of you, what is one piece of advice you'd give to your 21-year-old self? And the second question is, in starting a business or being self-employed, or even having a side hustle, we all come across failures. So what's one thing that you've failed at, and how have you learned from that failure to make yourself better?
My daughter's actually about to turn 21, so if I can just think about what I would tell her. So she's about to graduate university in May, and she'll turn 21 in August. When she was even picking her degree, she wanted to study drama. And coming from an African and West Indian family, you don't do that, you know? you know, like, everyone was like, what? And, you know, so her dad was like, yes, so what you're going to do is study maths or economics, and you can do that acting thing afterwards. And so what I kind of said to her is I always wanted to be an athlete. I used to do sprinting, 100 and 200 meters, and my parents were like, there's no money in that. Go and face your books. So, and that's why because maths was the only other thing that I really, really liked. So it was really important to me for her to study what she really wanted to, because I just thought whatever you have a passion for, that's what you're going to put 150% in. So that's the advice that I wish someone had given me when I was 21. You know, to believe in yourself and do you. You don't have to have it all figured out at 21. She even doesn't even want to do drama anymore. So and she was really scared about coming to me to say, I don't think I want to go into acting. I actually think I want to go into operations. And I was like, I didn't start my business until I was 35 years old. You know, who am I to tell my 20-year-old you've got to have it all together? You know, you have to have it all worked out. But whatever you're doing, just be passionate. Just putting that all into it. And if you don't really like that, move on to something else that actually makes your heart sing. I wasn't allowed that, and I was too meek and mild to kind of stand up and say, no, that's not what I really, really want to do. So that's the advice I would have given myself, and I give to my daughter. When I used to work for somebody, I've had some really rotten bosses. So I'm someone who goes above and beyond, and to my own detriment, I will work all hours to get something done, which is great when you work for a great boss who appreciates you, but I didn't have that. So when I started to take on my staff, I just wanted to be the best boss. I wanted to be so understanding, to a fault, to a point where I didn't really feel respected. You know, they were giving me their boundaries or their what they wanted to do and what they weren't going to do, and I was still paying them every month, you know. And I feel like that's what I failed at, because I wanted to go so the other way of trying to be understanding. Oh, you're not feeling well today. You're not really feeling up to come to work. You just stay home, because if you're not feeling great, you're not going to put your best into, you know, what you're doing. And then like days and days were just like, are you coming back to work? So yeah, and then I end up picking up the slack and working an all-nighter or whatever it was. So I think that's something I failed at. I think that it's sometimes time to summon your inner bitch, and and you have this is your business, this is your life, this is your struggle, and anyone who wants to come and ride with you and be part of that have to follow your vision. And when they want to do their thing, they will be over there and do their vision, you know. And I do care about their well-being, and I do care, and I will always care, but never to the level that I have. And I'm basically at a point now where I'm kind of going back to just using freelancers and having to build my team up again. And that's fine. It's expensive, but it's fine. And I've just learned that they're not my friends. I don't need to be, we can be friendly, and if we become friends, then that's a bonus. But ultimately, we're all kind of there to do this thing. You're helping me to do this thing. So.
Can I just piggyback off that as well? I feel like what you just said was so spot on. And I think where my business is such a baby, she's just a little girl. She's not even 1 year old yet. But yeah, like you go through things, especially with staffing and finding people who are going to work with you. And you literally just, like, I don't know, last year I had a moment where I was like, wait, hang on. What am I doing? I'm working for these people. They're not working for me. Like, I'm here killing myself because you can't be bothered. You have to really make that, like, and that's another thing as well, is working with friends or people that you love, or you have, like, if they say something to you, you're going to feel sad for them and stuff like that. I think it's so important to have that professional barrier and for you to understand that, okay, this is your team. Your team is a part of this machine that has to work. And so when people aren't working, the machine's broken. No one's going to get what they need out of this business. And that's what I had to realize, and it was such a harsh reality. So yeah, I'm kind of still in the stage where I'm getting new people in and trying new things out. So I completely agree. My 21-year-old self was wild, that's number one. But I would definitely say stay consistent and be true to yourself. I went through years of like, when we were coming up, well, not that I'm that old, but I remember being like 16. It wasn't the in thing to be like into makeup, so I wasn't confident about it. And I just remember being in college and people would be like, are you wearing foundation? I'm only wearing, Vaseline. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I always like kind of, for the first few years, I'm like, yeah, I'm wearing like a full face to college at this point and I'm dying for it. But yeah, so, I wasn't so confident in my gift or in my interest because I didn't feel it was cool. But you don't need to be cool, because years down the line, all these people that made me feel like I was wearing bare slap on my face, they're like, B, can I learn this from you and can I do this? And it just goes to show that you have to be confident in what you love. You have to see a future for what you love. And don't let anybody get in your way. My mum and dad were like, was makeup. That's their hobby. Like, they were not for it. But I think it was when I was about 24. And I said, you know what, I'm getting older. And I was so insecure about starting makeup because everyone that was doing makeup at the time was 18 and I was 24 and I felt like this old woman trying to do this cool thing. And I just remember thinking, okay, cool, I'm going to do it anyway. Everyone had said to me, you've got to do it. And then I got made redundant at my job. And I was like, all right, cool, so that's it then. God has told me I have to follow out my dream. And I did it and it's worked out. So I would say to my 21-year-old self, I don't care what anybody thinks about what you love. If you really believe in it, push for it and do that. Stay focused. Like, when everyone says no to you, say yes to yourself. It's that inner voice inside that wakes you up and makes you go for gold. Do you know what I mean? So that's what I would say to my 21-year self.
Wow, that is a word.
Thanks.
Mine isn't as deep as that. So when I was 21, I was at uni in Portugal doing my year abroad, and I was in a relationship and I was living life and having the best time of my life, and at what I thought. And I feel like that was when I started to lose myself because I wanted to like conform to this way of looking and way of being. It's when I started straightening my hair and I just wasn't quite who I am now. And I spent a lot of time spending my savings, basically, going out and having an amazing time. But then when I graduated from uni, I realised, oh my God, I had so much money in that bank, and now it's gone because I didn't want to come back from Portugal to go back to Nottingham. I just wanted to live that high life, and like Portugal's so cheap. So when you're out there and you've got all those pounds, you're like, yeah, let's just go wild. I was having the best time, and then I realised when I came back, I was like, oh, I'm actually really poor now, and I've worked since I was 15. I've always had a job, and that year was when I just didn't. And I learnt a lesson that year, and it was, you can work hard and you can play hard, but you've got to do both. You can't do one or the other. So yeah, 21, I think if I could go, I probably taught myself a lesson, but if I can go back, I'd probably instill a bit of balance a little bit earlier on. just so now, well, now I'm fine, but just so in my kind of early 20s, it wouldn't have been as hard to like move out because I didn't want to go back to my parents' house after uni. So yeah, that's 21, balance. So I outsource a lot of work, and I work with a lot of interns and assistants, and finding the right staff is probably one of the hardest things to do as a new business or as a freelancer or a business owner. And I've had some failings in that side where you give someone that inch and then they take the mile and then they leave the country and you're like, oh my God, I'm paying you, and you're having the best time and you've not done any work, and now I can't give my client the work because you've not done it, but I'm still going to pay you. So yeah, that again, balance, like finding the right stuff, and I'm still trying to find that. I think that's ongoing for a lot of people because we were literally just talking about it before this. But yeah, I think that's a failure that I've learned now. It's really important just to take a long time to find who's right, and I really want to talk to you about finding the right stuff because I feel like you've done a very good job.
Thank you. I was going to chime in.
Yeah, we're great.
I was going to chime in on that, especially after what B said, because that's actually something that I haven't found very hard, which I know is quite against the ordinary.
And you work with a lot of your friends and like family.
Exactly.
Like,
so everyone
so
says that
lucky.
friends and family are off limits, and I'm like, I don't have any idea what you're talking about because they're the hardest working and most trustworthy people I know. Really? So Christelle started off as get new friends. Christelle started off as a subscriber of Treasure Trust, and she literally reached out and was like, I love the company, I've got some amazing ideas for it, and I'd love to be a part of it. And I was like, that's cool, but I can't pay you, so it's up to you. And she was like, yeah, no, I'd still love to be a part of it. And then she came on as an intern, unpaid, got it to a point where I could pay her part-time, and now she's full-time once she graduated from uni.
Can I say something? I feel like you said something that kind of, I'll take it back. It's not about who you work with or who they are to you. It's about having people who are passionate.
Yeah.
So you can
have a
know
good work
when
ethic.
someone's passionate within the first 5 minutes of talking to them because
Oh,
the
no,
way
sometimes you don't.
No, but you can.
No, sometimes
No. They suck you in. They're like, I'm gonna breathe fast.
No, of course they think that. But if you know, there's the generic way. There's the generic way to seem like you're into it. Everyone's gone to their M&S, you know, interview and said, I love Marks and Spencer's. I'll die for my. But you know, it's not about that. It's like, you know, when someone comes to you and they know more about your journey than you do, and you're like, where they do that at? Like, how do you even know that's what I started doing? Like, one girl was like, I remember when you started at Tom Ford and then you moved on and then now you've done Vogue once and you did this edition. And I was like, raw, I didn't even realize I did it. Thank you, girl. And you know, like that person is genuinely passionate about either makeup or your journey. And I think that's what it's about because Christelle's a good member of staff because she's passionate. She sees beyond your vision. That person needs to see where we're going. They need to see like the light at the end of the tunnel. So not like, am I gonna get my 60 pounds?
Right, and that's
Like,
what
today.
I was
So
gonna say.
hold on. Can you start to do some of my interviews then? Can I get you to come and screen them before then I talk to them?
But I'm not there yet because I'm still building my team. I've got one member of my team and she's my queen. Like, I love her. And like you said, if they become your friends, they become your friends. She's become my friend because I respect her and she respects me back.
Right, that's what I think is important. It's the mutual respect. I think it's the work ethic. Understand everyone having a shared vision and everyone understanding what the bigger goal is and being committed to the hard work that it's going to take to get us there. So my best example, the pop-up shop that we done in November, after those 2 days, everyone was ready to collapse. Like, it takes a real committed and unified vision. And something that I found really useful this year was we ended last year with a meeting where we went through our culture, mission, and our vision. And this is something that I said to you before. So I literally have a document full of slides of Cardi B, Rihanna, Beyonce. It's really entertaining, but at the end of the day, it shares what Treasure Trust is doing, where we're going, and the language that we use, what we're about, what our vibe is, what we plan to execute, just so that we're all on the same page, so that we all have a unified vision. And I think it takes a certain level of self-sacrifice from everyone to jump on board for that. And I feel like those qualities should be quite noticeable, we would hope.
Yeah, thanks, Jamelia.
It's all right.
Thanks. No, but I think you're really blessed, and I think that has a lot to do with it and what you put out as well. So yeah, like, I think it's amazing. Like, just every event Jamelia holds, I'm just like, your team are ride or die. They're dying
they're
for
the
it.
realists.
Like, amazing.
Thank you.
Just here listening. I think, no, what you guys are saying, I work with my friends, isn't it? 2 of them are sisters, and 3 of them are god sisters. So, like, literally, it's a proper family affair. We've known each other 20 years deep. So, like, there's no other way. Don't know where anyone's going. But, yeah, so in that sense of, like, working with your team and your failures, I think we all recognize our failures, like, most of the time. And it's within ourselves as well. So if someone's off board, or you're saying that you have an employee, we're each other's employees. So if someone's not up to the buck, or if I'm not pulling my weight, it's like, Adelaide, like, walk on, man. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, you're letting the team down. So we can't let ourselves fail, and that is the main point of, like, why we work so well together. We've been working together for, I don't know how long, but the bond is that we know our goals, and we know our mission, vision, and our culture of who we are. So it's pretty unavoidable, to be honest. But yeah, what would I tell my 20? At 21, I graduated and moved to New York, and was like, I'm staying here. And my dad was like, you will be stranded. You will be stranded. And I was like, how? Like, how does that make sense, Dad? Do you know what I mean? So I went with my friends, and I was like living my best life, and I came back to London, and I was like, oh my goodness, what am I gonna do now? Into like work in education instead. And I was like, that was the biggest failure, that I didn't follow my own intuition and start earlier and just do it. But in time, I did do it. But I think it's, again, I think you all have mentioned it, just trusting your own vision, because I wouldn't be working here, I wouldn't be working in other spaces, I wouldn't be curating for other organizations, and just working on huge projects independently and working with Born and Bred. So yeah, but it happened, but still, I wish I would have just followed my own journey instead of my parents' journey, instead of saying, like, I don't know why they're so scared of, like, failure, but, you know, everyone has to fail at some point in their lives.
Oh, I wanted to add my failure. So I spoke about my amazing team and how great they are, but I did have an intern very, very early on. And this is before I made use of, like, non-disclosure agreements and non-compete agreements. And she literally came into Treasure Trust, worked with me for about a year, said that she was no longer passionate about it, left, and then set up a copycat company, literally with everything I had taught her. And at that point, I think that was one of my hardest lessons, because I really, really care about people, and especially the people that I work with, I really care about them. So I'm willing to, like, share everything that I know. I'm willing to share my network, my resources, anything, just to see other people succeed. But I felt like I was taken advantage of, and that was a clear sign to me to make sure that my legals are tight, and always just be sensible. Like, it's okay to care that much about other people, but always care for yourself as well. So that was a really, really valuable lesson for me.
That's really good.
What did you say?
That's a really good lesson.
It went at the time.
People teach you more than when you feel it. And I feel like I'm definitely one of them people where I'm just like, it's fine, and then it slaps you so hard, you're like, hey, I shouldn't have done that one. You know what I mean? So as much as it stung, it will never happen again, and it happens so early that it won't affect you. So I just pray that everyone has their mistakes or their failures as early into your business as possible, just so it doesn't make as much of an impact.
How do you deal with the emotional side, like the anxiety and all of that?
I would say just bite the bullet. At the end of the day, people are going to say what they're going to say. So you have to go into it believing in your product enough to the point whereby you're like, well, why would you turn me down? And when they do turn you down, you have to accept that not everything is for you. So there's been so many times I've been turned down, and I'm just like, you take it on the chin and you accept that, okay, this opportunity is just not for me. I could do that, and it might take me in a direction I'm not even looking to go down. So I feel like it's having enough confidence to know that not everything's for you. That would be my one piece of advice. But yeah, I've had loads of people be like, nah. And maybe a year down the line, they catch, wind of your sauce, and they're like, hey, I want to work with you.
That's the best feeling
and
in the world.
And I'm just like, I'm busy, darling. booked. I'm so sorry. But no, I just take the job. But it's like, I do end up just taking the job. But it gives you that little bit more confidence, you know? So like, just not everything is a diss. Sometimes it's just not time yet. And maybe that person needs to work with you when they have the utmost respect for you. So some of the people that come back to me later on, they come on a different vibe. Miss Boateng, and I'm like, is it? Okay, like I'll take it, do you know what I mean? So yeah.
Thanks, B.
It's been real, guys. I'm like, I have to go now. And thank you so much for listening to what I had to say. We're on
Can we
Leabridge
give her
Road.
a huge round of applause, please?
Oh, thanks. If it's your birthday or you're celebrating anything and you want to get your makeup done, we're based in East London, 732 Leabridge Road. If you've got any little sisters, little cousins, daughters who are going to be celebrating their prom, we have some amazing prom deals coming up. So yeah, I'd love to look after you. And thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Loads, Jam.
So something that works really well for me and has from the get-go is scheduling my week ahead before the week starts. So on a Saturday or a Sunday, I literally have this A3 paper that has Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and I write down exactly what I need to do on each of those days. Because when you're feeling overwhelmed, it's because everything's in your head and you feel like you have to do everything right now. But the fact of the matter is, if you don't send the email, no one's gonna die, so calm down. You can literally get to it when you do get to it, but just make sure that you do schedule it in. And then just for mental health and well-being, meditation works amazing for me. So meditating before I go to sleep and when I wake up is just a great way to clear my mind. And then writing things down in an organized manner just makes me feel like I have my life together. So I would definitely recommend that. But don't get intimidated by reaching out to people because they can say no, it's fine. I mean, no to me just means not yet, so I'll keep going until I get a yes. And if they said no to one pitch, then rework it and approach them in a different way. If you sent them an email, why don't you try sending them a video campaign? Like, there's just different things that you can do to get people's attention, so don't think just in a one-dimensional manner. Just do what you have to do in order to make that no and not yet, and then when it becomes a yes, it will be the right time.
On the confidence side, something that kind of changed my working life. Last year I decided I wanted to launch an agency.
Cool.
And it's called 76, everybody. Follow us on Instagram, 76 Agency. And I've only ever worked brand side. So I wanted to go into an agency and just kind of see how they price things up. Because I've only ever received pricing from an agency and been like, wow, what's in that 10 grand? When you were saying that earlier, I was like, yeah, I've received that before and been like, that is made up. So I've always been like trying to cut things out. But I wanted to figure out as an agent how I would price things up. So I met a guy and he has an agency, slightly different to what I do, and he needed help with a female-led project. And I was like, cool, yeah, I'll come and help you for a couple of weeks. So I went into this agency, and once being there, I realized that he literally has no idea what he's doing. So he's like 25, young white guy working in like urban cultural marketing. And we were working on one project for a really big brand, and the price that he gave that brand was ridiculous. He made so much money on it. And then we went in, he used me to pitch for some other work. And I just watched him in the meeting before we went into this massive music company, and I watched him in this meeting with this confidence, and I was like, you literally have no idea what you're doing. You have no idea about the artist that you're talking about. You have no idea how you're gonna get this job, but you're so confident. You're a 25-year-old boy who's just walked into a room full of adults. You've let me pitch because I know what I'm doing, and I was just like, if he can do it, why can't I do this? This is ridiculous. So literally, we finished the project just before Christmas. I went on holiday and I was like, right, this agency is happening. And I felt so confident. And now whenever I think about like, oh, I don't know if I'm gonna ask those people. And I'm like, well, thinking back to the guy, I always like joke. And I'm like, well, if he could do it, I can definitely do it. I've got like 9 years of marketing experience working with amazing brands. He's worked with one person ever. And and now he's working with like the biggest brands in the world. And I'm like, anyone can do it. So I think the whole, do you know that term, go into the meeting like a mediocre white guy? That is actually a thing. If you go in with that confidence, it will change your life, and I live by that now. So anytime I send an email, they can say no, but if they say no, ask them why. Always ask for feedback. That's my biggest thing. Okay, if this doesn't work for you, can I just ask you why that doesn't? Because I would love to work with you in the future, or I would love to do whatever, and just figure out how you can. Because sometimes it might be to do with they don't have budget, or they don't have this, don't have that, and you can always, there's always a way to get around it. So yeah, that's, mediocre white men, go in with that.
So I wanted to know if you had any challenges as a black female in a leadership position.
Can I answer this one? 100% yes. Like, not so much with Born and Bred. I could care less. Like, I'm doing it. I do what I want to do. And funnily enough, we have yet to really go out and pitch for jobs. So we've been really lucky on that tip to just get loads of jobs. One side of the biggest issue that I do have is being a black woman in a corporate world. Funny enough, this building doesn't seem as corporate as you think, but my office is crazy corporate. And the amount of times I have to go, I told you so, like, to like these grown white men who think, oh my goodness, like, no, this, that, and the other. And I'm like, no, but I've told you so. I've literally now got to the point where I speak so freely in my office that they don't actually care. They listen to what I have to say simply because they've made so many mistakes within their own business that I'm constantly watching. It makes me feel as though, is this really for real? Like, how do you have all this money to get this? Which is crazy, but to an extent, like, being a black woman, you're gaslighted upon gaslighted upon gaslighted to almost think to yourself, am I crazy? But you're not. You are not crazy. It's literally the confidence that we exude so much within our roles, within what we do with so much passion, it intimidates people. So whenever you're within a space and you feel as though you are right, 9 times out of 10 you're right. Like, I feel as though I've had to really come into this role to tell myself that what I'm doing is for the goodness of, like, myself. And it's been very self-affirming to be in this space and understand that you are qualified. And there will always be someone else who's in this leadership position who will try to make you seem like you're underqualified. But most times, you are probably more qualified than them, and you're probably doing their job 10 times better than themselves. So whenever you do feel like you're being gaslighted, or you do feel like someone is out there kind of misjudging what you know is right, call them out on it. Like, what's the most you can do? Lose your job? Yeah, but, like, do you know what I mean? Like, I haven't lost my job yet in many roles that I've been. I've usually just, like, left. But do you know what I mean? Like, stand up for yourself, because everyone else does it. Like, why can't we?
No, definitely. I always, wherever I worked, I was always the only black person. And so I felt like I had the weight of blackhood on my shoulders. And I wanted to show everyone I wasn't that angry black woman. I wanted to show everyone that I wasn't ghetto, even though I'm really... But black people, we don't need to be, we can be professional, we can do this. And I almost became desensitized by the microaggression, do you go to gospel church? And, oh, look at your hair. And, and I didn't want to, and if I ever kind of, like, slightly bristled to the questions they were asking, they'd be like, oh my God, you're not one of those black people, are you? You're not one of those black people with a chip on your shoulder. So I almost wanted to be so laid back, like, yeah, no, I find it funny that you just said that really racist thing. And it's only now, I went through some things, y'all. And I don't know if it's being black or being a woman, but I kind of found when I had my office space that everyone was quite shocked that I was the boss. It was like they thought that the boss was going to fly in from somewhere. We were just like the little secretaries, you know, just kind of getting on the way. Especially when I'm posting about the different back office stuff that we do, and you know, and you visibly see the shock. It's kind of like, oh, you've got this office, this. You're not just hot desking, like you've got this office and this nice building, and I don't care. You know, I don't take it on. I'm not going to be offended. I just kind of get on with it. And it's taken me a long time to be really, really confident in who I am. Who I am is because I'm black. Who I am is because I'm a woman. Who I am is because I'm from South. You know, like all of that has made me who I am. So I probably have become desensitized to the fluff or the I don't know, like I just don't really take it on. I haven't really come against too much since I started my business. I just know that I'm really great at what I do, and if you don't want to work with me, that's fine, because there's somebody else who wants to, and you don't have to respect me, but if we're going to work together, you're going to respect me. You know, I've kind of got to that point. I don't know if that's turning 40. I don't know, just coming into who I am. You know, I've just gained a lot of confidence to, like I said before, I don't think I'm the best bookkeeper in the world, but I do think I'm a good person. I do feel like I'm really good at what I do. So I kind of block out all the noise and, yeah, just kind of float through life.
And I wanted to find out if you've got any like specific tips for cold calling.
I don't think that today I would have done it that way. So I went from cold calling to attending lots of industry events, which is still something that I prioritize and invest heavily in now. So if you can go to, I don't know, say career fairs, where you know that there's going to be loads of companies, that would be a great way to meet someone in a corporation that could get you into, well, you'd meet someone in the HR department, which is kind of where you need to be anyway, because it's all about health and well-being. So go to a career fair, maybe at one of the universities, maybe set up an agenda for Freshers Week and say, okay, I'm going to hit 5 different universities, one every day, and I'm going to speak to 10 different people at 10 different companies, and then I'm going to build up my database. I'm going to meet them, stay in contact, add them on LinkedIn, check in with them every 2 months, and then build the relationship from there. So I don't think cold calling is the way to go. I think you could be a lot more strategic, but I feel like a Freshers Fair would be a great place to be, just to meet as many corporations as you could in one go.